All right, so there's millions of children in America who are homeless. Some of these children are in the system. Some of them are in foster care. Some of them are in institutions or group homes. These children, they may not get to see their families, may not have families. I'd like you guys to think about them, put them in your prayers if you guys believe in that. If you don't believe in prayers, please get up off your butts. Let them know that they're loved, same as your family. If you can't do that, I'm not going to blame you. I won't hate you. You got your own family. Be glad that you have them. If you're eating family dinner with them, be glad that they're there, even if it's TV dinner. A TV dinner with your family for Christmas is better than a lot of people have. I've been real angry lately. I see these things every day of my life. I grew up in the system, same as millions of homeless people in America, same as millions of people incarcerated. They start off in the system and they get dropped off. They call it aging out. That's when you become an adult. You're 18. You got two shoes, maybe if you're lucky. I didn't have that. I had one. I had a pair of pants. I had a shirt. I had no identification. I had no way to get money. Um, if it wasn't for good people, I'd never gotten any of that. You need two forms of ID to get the other two forms of ID that you need to get the two forms of ID that you need. It's a mess. So there's millions of children in America that are gonna age out. In our lifetime, there might be dozens of that number, possibly compounded further. Depends on how long we live and how long we have so many parents reciprocating the things that their parents taught them. Well, those things aren't okay. They're not okay. We can save these kids. That really is what it needs to be about. It's Christmas. You're spending it with your family. Be glad for that. If you can do nothing else, then at least pray for them. There's a lot of poor people in America right now, a lot more than there used to be. We replaced $120,000 jobs with McDonald's, two or three McDonald's jobs, sure, but now they're starting to phase it out with the machines. Machines are going to do that. So we got a lot of people can't afford the houses that they're in, and they're getting real stressed out. People who are stressed out hurt, and people who are hurt people. The number one reason for women to become homeless is because of domestic abuse. When they end up homeless, their children end up in the system. The number one reason for women to become homeless is domestic abuse. Remember that. One person is not enough to keep a roof over your head anymore. When you tell somebody to do it themselves, you're setting them up for failure. When you think your kid can set it up like you were able to in 1998, that was the last year you were able to live on a single person income. Remember that. Starting wages ain't a lot. When these kids become homeless, they're subject to a lot of abuse. They're subject to abuse in places where people don't want to report abuse. If you do report abuse, they turn a blind eye. They don't want to hear it. You cry wolf. And you get treated like that. These children need to be set free. Those children out there on the streets being cold, needing a blanket. You guys, if you can find it in your closet, forget about your hearts. If you can find it in your closet to get some socks and a blanket, especially if you're in the northern regions of the United States, get somebody some blankets. Get them socks. Socks are number one. It's not just youth that are homeless. If you take a look at that homeless drunk on the corner, or that homeless guy who works next to you in the kitchen at the Cheesecake Factory, it don't matter. These people are homeless. They started off in the system. The number one reason for people to end up homeless is aging out. That's why the number one cross section, it takes a lot to get all the things that you guys got. A driver's license, you got to get a car for that and learn how to drive it. When you've been in the system, you don't learn those things. You don't learn to socialize the same. You don't understand things the same. When these kids age out and that homelessness hits, then they become everybody's victim. They're the people that it is most acceptable to victimize. They're the number one people in America to be just beaten up for no reason. People catch it on camera all the time. A lot of people like to record themselves beating up homeless people. They call it hobo bashing or bum bashing. That's what these kids in the system have to look forward when they age out. Being to blame for everything. Whenever somebody walks by, they blame them for the things that they couldn't do to the people who actually did things to them. So keep that in mind. These children are not going to have an easy life unless you change the laws now, unless you do something. But if you can do nothing else, then pray. Matter of fact, even if you don't believe in God, just add a good measure and good luck. You may not believe in that either, but something's got to give. We can't reciprocate this society and pretend like we're the greatest country on earth. We can't. 80% of the people who are going to assault you and negatively in God, I can't even say that word. Don't touch your own children like that. It's not appropriate. If they tell on you, you guys all lose your places. They go into the system and get put through the ringer. You go to prison, and your wife, she ends up homeless. Don't touch your daughter like that. Don't touch your son like that. For God's sake, do something about this. If you can do nothing else than pray, if you got a few minutes on your hand, write it down. Write it down and send it to your local senator. And while you're at it, try to do something about this jurisdictional stuff. People who are victims of domestic assault and domestic abuse, a piece of paper doesn't protect them. If a predator can just jump across jurisdiction, you need to be able to go get him and make sure that he can't hop in a car and drive back whenever he wants. If he's just a couple hours away by vehicle, that's close enough for him to do anything he wants at any point in time. These children deserve a future, just like your children. Please make sure that they don't end up out here. Help to change protocols by the police that make it illegal at every part to be homeless because there are not enough resources, not enough beds. Homelessness is growing at such a rate because a lot of people have expensive houses they could have afforded on that $120,000 job. And now they're working at McDonald's for minimum wage, maybe a little over. I shouldn't say McDonald's, that's just rude and inconsiderate. There are so many jobs. We threw away the big jobs, we gave them all away. We downsized and outsourced. We maximized the profit for those who are rich. They moved our factories elsewhere. They found somebody who would work for cheaper, machines that would work for cheaper. The only people who are going to help us now are us. Our government doesn't care. Instead of talking about what you're going to do, go out and do it. But if you're talking about going to war, don't do that. There's 3 ways to fight a war. One of them's by killing. Please don't do that one. The other one's by thinking, usually religion. If that one helps you to get people to be peaceful and good to one another, please use it. The third way is building. That's my preferred method. I know how to do that, so that's what I try. I know how to build up a lot of stuff, including people. You guys can give some positive encouragement instead of just assuming the worst when you see that homeless person. Understand they were probably in the system growing up, and 80% of their perpetrators are parents. That's why they ended up in the system, is because their parents are perpetrators. Cutters usually cut on themselves because people don't listen. People don't listen to them because they have a perpetrator and they're afraid, oftentimes, of losing their house or losing their families. Girls start cutting themselves at 5 times the rate of boys starting at the age of 15. Boys start committing suicide at 5 times the rate of girls starting the age of 15. That's how much pressure and how much the pressure is different for each one. Our society teaches this. Girls can change a tire and boys can cook. I've seen it. I know how to sew. My older brother knows how to crochet. My little brother can do macrame. And my little sister can pinch you harder with her toes than you would ever want to be pinched. So try to think about those kids, all right? Try to think about how you can change it, how you can impact it here in the United States before we go telling people elsewhere how they need to live. Because we just ain't living right.